Good evening and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of Fine Print. I'm Molly Gampir. A suicide attack in Afghanistan's Jalalabad killed at least 19 people, including 17 members of Afghanistan's Sikh minority. The so-called Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the explosion. And tonight, we bring you an exclusive ground report from Jalalabad. The report captures the anguish of a community that now finds itself in the crosshairs of the Islamic State terror group. WION's Fahim reports.
Grieving relatives, a sense of shock and despair. Generations of Sikhs have lived in Afghanistan, but this was the first time the community became the target of a suicide attack.
In this incident, many of our leaders have been martyred. We want President Ashraf Ghani to give us security. If they can't give us security, we will go to international institutions and tell them that we are not safe here.
We have lost all our leaders. This is quite unfortunate.
19 perished in the attack, including 17 from the minority Sikh and Hindu communities. Some locals say that the Afghan government failed to maintain adequate security.
In this incident, leaders of the Sikhs of different provinces of Afghanistan were targeted. It appears that it was a conspiracy against them. The Afghan government should investigate this incident seriously.
Avtar Singh Khalsa was the only Sikh candidate in the 20th October parliamentary election and would have become the first lawmaker from the Sikh community in the Afghan legislature. With Fahim in Jalalabad, Bureau Report, WION.
And a prominent Sikh leader, Avtar Singh Khalsa, was also killed in that attack. Just last month, he had spoken to WION and told our team that minorities in Afghanistan were facing hardships and no one was coming forward to help from the Afghan government. But Khalsa was hoping to change that and planned on contesting the election to the Afghan parliament in October this year. The 52-year-old hails from Paktia province, located in the eastern part of Afghanistan, but lived most of his life in Kabul. In fact, we have pictures of him meeting India's top leadership on previous occasions. His previous political experience included a stint as senator representing the minority in the upper house of the Afghan legislature.
Avtar Singh was in touch with WION. He was speaking with me. He was to give an exclusive conversation with WION just before the polls. But that was never to happen. He died in that terrible attack. Avtar Singh's last words to me were that he is going to represent the minority population, the Sikhs and the Hindus. He said that he's going to ask the government about the rights of the minority population in his country. But he died. He died in that terrible attack in Jalalabad.
Avtar Singh Khalsa had served in the Afghan army for 10 years. He was expected to run unopposed for a seat in the lower house of the legislature that was apportioned to the minority by a presidential decree issued in 2016. Ravel Singh, an Afghan Sikh civil rights activist from Jalalabad, has also been killed in the attack. Afghanistan has witnessed a steady decline in the number of Sikhs in the country. The Sikh community numbered more than 80,000 in the 1970s, but today only around 1,000 remain. Avtar Singh Khalsa met with the Indian ambassador to Afghanistan recently as the head of the Kabul Gurdwara. He discussed various issues of the community's interest with the ambassador. Khalsa was a fearless champion of minority rights. Before he was killed in that attack, he said that he did not care if he lost his life in the struggle for the rights of the minority. Listen into what he said.
वाला के फॉर्मूले मरा तमाम की बुकुशन वाला के खुद मरा बुकुशन मगरम तो वक्त बराशन मुबारदा खो कदम तो क्या कह दे रहा जंगल वाले मो बकशन बराशन बस
And in Afghanistan, relatives and friends of the 17 members of the Sikh community killed in that attack in Jalalabad are in mourning. India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj today met members of the Sikh community, including relatives of the 17 Sikhs who were killed. The Sikh community in Delhi and Amritsar have rallied in support of the victims and announced compensation to the next of kin. As many as 19 people were killed in that targeted attack on members of the Sikh community. And WION Siddhant Sibil earlier caught up with Afghanistan's ambassador to India. Take a listen in to what the ambassador said.
A terrible tragedy has happened in Jalalabad, a terrible attack in which many Sikhs have died, including Avtar Singh, who was to represent a minority community in Afghanistan. With me is the Afghan ambassador to India. Sir, welcome to WION. My first question, sir, this attack has happened. Your first words.
Well, very tragic. I'm very saddened to have heard the loss of our 17 Sikhs and one Hindu. Altogether 17 lives in Afghanistan. Very tragic. As you know, Afghanistan is under attack almost on a daily basis. And we are the victims of terrorism that affects everyone, including our Afghan, Hindu and Sikh community. Here we lost a bulk of our Hindu and Sikh community in Afghanistan, including the candidate, Avtar Singh, very patriotic Afghan. I condemn it in the strongest possible words, and we hope that Afghanistan, the Afghan people, will now no longer suffer from terrorism that is coming from across the border.
So Avtar Singh, a man who was to represent the minority community, the Sikh community, the Hindu community, so any words, special words for that person, a brave son of Afghanistan? Absolutely,
very patriotic. And I often visit our Afghan, Sikh and Hindu community in Delhi and Afghanistan. And I, in most cases, find them more patriotic than many Afghans I see on a daily basis. Very patriotic. They come to my embassy and they go to the Afghan government offices. And Avtar Singh, particularly when you mentioned, he was a real patriotic Afghan. And we really mourn the loss of this brave Afghan. And we wish his family, the Afghans, patience with the loss of such an irreparable one that we just came across. And we hope that Afghanistan, the world community, or friend India, will stand with Afghanistan to defend the Afghan lives. And the defense of Afghanistan is the defense of everyone, especially India and Afghanistan facing a common enemy, that is terrorism. Terrorism that is coming from the same sources. Therefore, we have to do more in order for our two nations to be safeguarded.
So can you just tell us a little bit history about the Sikhs and the Hindus in Afghanistan, what role they have played in nation building in Afghanistan, their historical role in the country?
Absolutely. They have been in all walks of life. Unfortunately, we don't have such a large number of Afghan, Hindu and Sikh community anymore. But whatever number they are in each and every field in Afghanistan. They have been in government, they have been outside the government, they've been active in the civil society, and they've been a very strong source of our democratic faith in Afghanistan. And this attack was an attack on our religious freedom. This was an attack on our diversity in Afghanistan. This was an attack on our shared values, an attack on the Indo-Afghanistan friendship, because Hindu and Afghans are the bridge. The Hindu, Sikh and Afghan are the bridge between our two nations. So we are lucky to have our Afghan Sikh community living in Afghanistan, and many of them are living in India. But they've never forgotten their country, their motherland.
So my last question, you've already spoken about terror, how it's emanating from across the border, but it seems that the countries, the states who are responsible for it, they are not mending their ways despite pressure from New Delhi and Kabul.
Absolutely. I think the world has to answer this question. It's not related to only Afghanistan and India. We have a country that sponsors terrorism and spreading all over the world. Of course, Afghanistan and India are the biggest victim of this, but the world has to answer. the terrorism that is coming to us and to the rest of the world. We hope that the world community will learn the lesson of 9/11 and many other incidents all over the world. But the sources are clear, and we hope that the world will no longer sit idle or keep quiet on the very known and very clear use of terrorism against all our nations around the world.
Law is catching up with Nirav Modi, the main accused in the $2 billion Punjab National Bank fraud case in India. A red corner notice has been issued against Nirav Modi by Interpol. By issuing the red corner notice, Interpol has urged its member countries to detain or arrest Nirav Modi. Earlier, India's Central Probe Agency had filed a charge sheet in a Mumbai court naming Nirav Modi, his brother Nishal, who is a Belgian citizen, and his uncle Mehul Choksi. The agency has also issued a diffusion notice through Interpol against the accused. The notice allows a mechanism through which the location of an absconder is shared among the member countries of Interpol. Nirav Modi has managed to travel through several countries, even though his passport had been cancelled by the Indian government. Meanwhile, authorities in India have been in touch with their counterparts in UK, France and Belgium to help track down Nirav Modi and restrict his movements. Nirav Modi has been booked in nearly half a dozen fraud cases. He fled the country in January, just days before the Punjab National Bank was able to detect the fraud. And WION's bureau chief from London, Mandy Clark, filed this report. Take a look.
So what does a red letter notice mean for Nirav Modi? Well, when Interpol issues one of these notices, it means any member of its 192 countries can arrest him if they are spotted in their country. Now, it's particularly handy for a fugitive who's been on the move. We don't know exactly his current location. We do know in January he had left India, that he had spent some time in the States, then he came to London. Shortly after that, he went to Hong Kong, spent even more time in America, came back to London, then quickly went to Paris. His current location is unknown. So wherever he is, if he is detained, then it doesn't mean he will be sent back to India immediately. It means the extradition process can begin, and depending on appeals, that process can take years. Mandy Clark, WION, London.
How much time do you spend browsing social media websites every day? Are you one of those obsessed about checking updates on Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram and the like? Well, experts have been warning that too much time spent on the phone or on social media sites could be bad for your mental and physical health. Now, governments and businesses are recognizing the threat that social media websites cause to employee productivity as well. In India, a proposal by the Department of Telecom to regulate over-the-top services such as Skype, Viber, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, etc. had met with stiff resistance a few years ago. It was said that the proposal impinged on freedom of expression of users and was anti the internet age, quote unquote. Now, a similar debate has kicked off in Uganda after the government there began imposing a tax on the usage of social media. Starting this month, you cannot use over-the-top services in Uganda unless the new social media use tax of 200 Ugandan shillings per day is shelled out. The Ugandan government believes that such a tax is necessary to control the activities of its young population and curb gossip. President Yoweri Museveni said that idle talk on social media is causing economic loss for the country. Though the new regulations have started a big debate, they also impact only a minuscule percentage of Uganda's population. Barely 22% of Ugandans use internet services. Reports also say tech-savvy youngsters have already begun working on ways to skirt the tax.